Are you wondering what the worst part about being a pilot is? Coming up, I'm going to tell you 5 things that most of us hate about a profession.
963 heavy, sliding 190, maintain 10,000, runway 18 left, clear for takeoff.
Hey crew, welcome to 7-4 Gear. My name's Kelsey. I'm a 747 pilot. Today we're going to be talking about what the worst part about being an airline pilot is. Earlier I covered what the best part about being a pilot is, and I'll link that in the video somewhere. Today I'm going to be going over what are the 5 things that most of us really don't like about our profession. These are strictly my opinions, not anybody else's, but these are the 5 things that I personally dislike the most about being a professional aviator. Number 1, the amount of time that it takes and the cost that it takes to start making money and flying nicer aircraft. Most of you will find that you need usually 1,000 or 1,500 hours to be able to get your first job. That is frustrating. Flight school is very expensive. After flight school, you have to build flight time. If you're at a school and you become a flight instructor, some places you're able to get hours very quickly, some not so fast. That time during flight school is usually tough. A lot of people are paying for their loans that they had to go to flight school, as well as trying to live. All of those things during flight school and after flight school, trying to get money and then getting to your first job at the regionals, which while right now it's paying a lot better than what it was 10 years ago, it's still pretty low considering the amount of time and effort and cost that it takes to becoming a pilot. Putting all that money out to go to flight school, then all the work it takes to get 1,000 or 1,500 hours to then get a job which pays pretty average. That was a painful aspect about it. So that's number 1 on my things that I dislike the most. Number 2 of the worst parts about being an airline pilot, the endless studying. You are always studying. I thought, okay, great, I'm gonna learn how to fly, I'm gonna be a great pilot, and I'm gonna be set, and I'm gonna be good to go. No, that's not how it works. Once you get to the airlines, every 6 months, sometimes less, you're having recurrent studying that you need to do. Manuals that you need to review, procedures, systems, you need to go to the simulator, practice engine failures and fires and all the different procedures that they have you do while you go through training. So you are constantly studying the manuals, studying the standard operating procedures, all of those things. It's a non-stop studying process, and I like to be really good at what I do. I just didn't think it was going to be requiring me to study all the time. Even on your time off, when you're at home or you're on a trip, there's always stuff to study. Maybe I'm just not a good student, but that's number 2 on my list. Number 3 on the list of worst things about being an airline pilot, there's this worry that most pilots have deep in the back of their mind of, what if I lose my medical? Every 6 months or a year, depending on how old you are and what country you live in, you have to go get your medical exam. Usually once you get your medical for the first time, for the most part, you're able to maintain that medical. If you don't have anything physically new or different than what you normally have, you will generally pass your medical. Maybe you need to get glasses or something like that, but for the most part, once you've gotten your medical the first time, for the rest of your career, you should be able to hold it, assuming nothing major changes. However, that's a concern that most pilots have. Lurking in the back of their mind is, what if I cut my finger off or lose an eye or whatever? There's a risk of losing your medical. And the skill of being an airline pilot can only be used into one thing, flying planes. So if you don't have that ability anymore, it gets very limited of the types of jobs that you can have.
I am a semi-professional race car driver and an amateur tattoo artist.
Number 4 is also about losing your job, but not because of your medical, about something like your airline closes or the economy pulls back. In the current environment right now with the pilot shortage that's going on, and I talked about that and what's the best part about being an airline pilot, but in this current environment, you realistically aren't going to be what they say on the streets, basically not able to get a job as a pilot, just because of the overall shortage worldwide of pilots right now. That being said, it can happen. You can have where the economy in your country or wherever you're at pulls back, or your airline closes, and now you got to start all over again. And that's a very frustrating thing. I've met guys that had spent 10 or 15 years at an airline building up seniority, they upgraded, they were captains, they had a good quality of life, and then their airline went belly up. And then they had to go somewhere and they start all over again. You start from the bottom with the same guy who started flying 10 or 15 years after you. That's one of the worst things about being an airline pilot, is the instability of what could happen, what might happen with your airline or the economy. You could be the best pilot, everybody can love you, and you can be really good at what you do, but if your airline closes, you still have to go out, interview, and get another job. So that's one of the worst things about being an airline pilot. Number 5, it's sleep. If you're doing long haul flying, you're gonna have jet lag. You're gonna be flying maybe a 10 or 15 hour flight from one side of the earth to the other side of the earth, and you might have 12 hours or 3 days rest. It can always vary. There is some sleep deprivation that's gonna happen when you're doing that. If you're doing domestic, and this is for me personally, getting up early. I hate waking up early. 4 in the morning, that's not when I wanna get up. 4 in the morning to walk out in the snow in upstate New York or in Canada in January, that is not what I wanna do. Okay crew, that wraps up what I think are the 5 worst things about being an airline pilot. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Down below in the comment section, I want to hear from you. What do you think is the worst thing about being an airline pilot? Or what do you think is going to be the hardest thing for you once you become an airline pilot? I look forward to hearing from you. Until then, keep the blue side up.